cover. We're going to try and squeeze it all into one video. So I've made the base here so that I can explain the elements before I make it. The inside tray, the gallery, and the exterior rim, which is higher than the inside rim. Let me show you how these are made, and then I'll show you how they come together. Alright, we'll get this centered. These are finished with a flat base, so I always want to make sure and leave enough weight that it's not going to warp in the kiln. I'm centering in roughly the finished shape. Now when I start shaping this, I'm going to go down and in. This is going to compress the base as it pushes the clay out. I do the same thing with plates. Into the center rather than out. And by going in, actually forcing the clay out naturally. I need to create the gallery, make sure I've got the right amount of weight. Create the inside rim. That's the trough for the butter. Got our basic shape. Just tidy it up. I'll come in with the sponge and make sure that that's nice and flat. You want enough room in the gallery that a lid can sit in there comfortably. I find that just the width of my finger is the right amount. Just pull that edge up. Get this towards our gauge. For finishing purposes, I like to take the rib onto the inside. Just remove the throwing lines. You can put a little spiral or something in it. Just put some finishing touches on the edges. There's our undercut for our wire. Sometimes when you hit the tool down, it forces the wall back in. Just make sure the last move is from the inside out. Okay, so we've made the bases and now it's time to make the lid. It's a pretty simple lid to make. It has to fit the base and it has to fit the butter. Most of the work in this lid is in the finishing, but there's a couple important things in the making to bear in mind. I'm gonna open this, but I'm gonna leave a lot of space at the bottom, very thick. This is really important to leave that room for later on. Because we're leaving it so thick, we really need to make sure it's compressed. We've got a little mound now. We can pull that off. I want the thickness of the wall to match the thickness of the base so that the finished product's cohesive. I've measured the gallery. Make sure I'm in the margin of error there. The other important thing is that because this is a lid that comes on and off quite a lot, I want the finish, which will end up being the foot of the lid really, to be nice and substantial. Most of the work in this lid is done in the trimming stage. We'll just make sure we've got a nice clean line here on the outside. Check it. Nice. We'll let these set up and I'll show you how to finish them. Okay, so we've left our butter dishes overnight, and now I'm going to show you how we do the trimming. Everything's nice and set up, leather hard. So let's do the base first. Not a lot to the base. We just want to clean up the edge really. We want to just remove this hard edge. I like to try and create a shadow here so that the finished pot doesn't look like it's stuck to the table. I also like to double check that the entire foot has been addressed. So I can just quickly go over this. We're not removing a lot of clay, we're just fine-tuning. And then I can go back over that with a rib. So for the lid, I'll now show you why we've left that extra clay in the throwing process. We're basically gonna hollow that out so that our handle can go there, and it doesn't need to come way up. It can have a lower profile but still be functional. Make sure the wall is nice and straight. And we'll start to remove the other side of that hump that we left in the throwing. Alright, so there's our butter dish. Now I'll show you how we do the handle. Okay, so we've trimmed the base, we've trimmed the top, we've made sure it's got a nice balance to it. We'll put our handle on now. I've pulled all these handles in advance, so we can do another talk later about handles if anyone's interested. Just make sure I've got about the right length. That's what we're looking for. So I like to fatten the end. Just to make sure I've got a nice strong attachment point. Make sure it's got a bit of character. So let's score this. Slip on there. I just like to get the slip out of the throwing bucket. And we'll just make sure we've got it centered. Looks pretty good. Stick that on. Last thing we do is just tweak the shape so that we've got a nice line coming over the top. Double check that it's all centered. And we'll just clean this extra slip up with the brush. Have it. Come out of the kiln about like this one.